Продовжуємо робочий день. Зараз колеги мої будуть презентувати запуск
So now we are presenting a unique project, the launch of unique project, Ukrainian Network Technology Cluster. Invite Igor Kabanenko, president of UA.RPA, Bohdan, Kupych, member of the Supervisory Board of the Ukrainian Venture Capital Association, Danylo Sytnikov, technical director for UA.RPA, and Yevhen, Utkin, founder of the Ukrainian Network Technology Cluster. Yevhen, the floor is yours. And good afternoon. A year ago, the weather was sunny like that when we went to this peaceful march. The subject of the conference, of the briefing, is our initiative on setting up the Ukrainian Network Technology Cluster to support the security of our country and defense capacity of our country. Myself, as a person who's been in high-tech for more than 30 years, today this is my duty, maybe to introduce some systemic approach, because I can compare what's happening today with the big fire which lasts for more than a year. And we need to combat the fire, and today, thanks to a huge energy of volunteers, we are extinguishing this fire. But the latest events of the last week certify to the fact that this will last long. We need to fight that systemically. Second, the war is first of all a big disaster, but secondly, this means the opportunity to create a new industry of high-tech, because such technology as electronics, microelectronics, nanotechnologies, these are the technologies of dual use, which are used to enhance the defense capacity and in peaceful life. And within our network cluster of high-tech, we will create such instruments as the seed fund. We will attract project. We will raise project financing, venture funds, private equity funds to support our innovations of our volunteers. And the main thing is, the main objective of our cluster is coordination, because we live in a network world, and in a network world, the main thing is coordination, not the team, not creating the vertical, but coordination of startups and coordination of our entrepreneurs. Now I would like to give the floor to Admiral Kabanenko. We have recently founded the servicing company, which is servicing the teams of our cluster, and it's called UA.RPA. Good afternoon, esteemed colleagues. You need to understand that in any sector, not just in defense and security sector, the priority are technologies, motivation, and resources. To win technologically, our Western partners know how to win technologically, not just Western
company.
In other parts of the world, there are many companies. There is a big state support. There's an attempt to develop high-tech. That means the opportunities for development. The main thing is understanding that we have set up the service type company UA.RPA, Ukrainian Agency on Prospective Innovative developments. We have some products which have proven to be successful. I would like to talk about the tasks of our company. First of all, like Yevhen mentioned, that was to coordinate the activities of the companies in the cluster to receive the best product, the best opportunities, electronic, microelectronic, automated systems of management, the drones, robotization, and other things which we have identified. We identified the projects and we are moving forward. The issue of integration of different opportunities to get a systemic approach. This gives the growth and efficiency not just from the point of view of technical advantages, but advantages in management, quick management, effective and efficient. That means also to ensure the access of cluster companies to seed funds, to project financing, to use at the stage of a startup, to use that at the stage of startup and then move forward to get high-tech product which our state needs. Our priorities are dual-use technologies, the technologies which could be used both in the national security and defense sector and in everyday life. And also, another direction of our activities is cooperation with different research and scientific institutes, both in Ukraine and abroad, because this is an opportunity to get best results, and we move from the technology which is on the paper to a final product. We also follow the network principle, the flat principle. We work for specific projects which are needed, which are required, and that gives advantages from the point of view of reducing expenses and getting maximum effect. And there's a very good balance talking about quality and price. We are looking into the future with confidence. We actively work in different directions. We understand that a lot depends on private-public partnership. In many countries of the world, this is a very serious instrument of development. Such countries as the United States, Great Britain, Germany, Poland, they demonstrate today how efficient this approach is, and it basically produces the best results. Now I would like to give the floor to Danylo Sytnikov, who will tell you in more detail about technologies, technical approaches, and so on in our activities. Good afternoon. I'm Danylo Sytnikov. I'm a technical director for UA.RPA. I'm coordinating engineering groups which participate in development and production of dual-use products. By dual-use, we mean technologies which could be used in both military and civil sector, and we are different from military defense companies which are producing for the army. We're interested in our technologies finding application in everyday life. This shouldn't be just a material product. This could be algorithm, experience, personnel, methods of management, which will help our country to win the war, and on the other hand, will create basis to develop high-tech industry in Ukraine. Most participants of our cluster work in the sphere of high-tech, but we recognize that there's no high-tech sector in Ukraine. And talking about how many successful software products are sold in Ukraine, which are made in Ukraine. Also, the mechanism of this system is well known and tested in many countries. I will not talk about them in details, but everything that is needed is to create transparent conditions. For success, we don't need offshore zones or tax privileges. In all successful countries, the taxes are higher than in Ukraine. The freedom of entrepreneurship is the main recipe for development of high technologies in our country. The technologies which we're interested in, the system of increasing the accuracy in ammunition, medical sensors, mine detectors, automated system of logistics. I would define the sphere of our interest, the technologies which reduce the risk of people being killed. Some of these technologies are already used in the zone of conflict. Some are being developed. Sometimes we see that the technology which you use every day and the technology which is not considered to be a high-tech technology like polymers, electronic sensors, gadgets, but we find out that in the military sphere they can enhance the efficiency of executing the task. And that is very characteristic for dual-use technologies, like the civil thermal vision device is different from the military one. But sometimes the difference is very small. I would also mention that high-tech is not exactly the statical term. It's a dynamic term. What we consider to be high-tech today, tomorrow can change. Like the steam machine, steam engine, these were high technologies in their time. But our task is to develop and look for technologies which will become high-tech in the future. One more problem which exists in the sphere of high-tech in Ukraine is the lack of highly qualified personnel, like the specialist on developing analog periphery for microprocessors. We don't have such specialists because we don't have jobs for them, or the developers of MEMS. We recognize that problem and we added to the title of our cluster the word network. The specialists from any country can participate in our project. We have developers from Norway, US, and Canada, and now Ukraine gets the advantages over the enemy because we are supported by the whole world. Thank you. I've told everything I wanted.
Просил бы продолжить.
I would like Bohdan Kupych to continue.
My name is Bohdan Kupych. I'm Vice President of Business Development for KMCOR. I'm also a member of the Supervisory Board of the Ukrainian Venture Capital Association. So I'm a Canadian, and I've been working in Ukraine for more than 20 years in the technology space. I think everybody understands and knows the vast potential of the intellectual capital that's based in Ukraine. And the idea behind the cluster is to help to develop that and to realize that potential. How can we do that? First of all, that is in technology collaboration with companies and countries such as Canada, US, Israel, European countries, Poland, for example. So we hope to build a bridge to technology innovation, which is happening all over the world, and in collaboration, create new businesses, new products, in fact, a new economy for Ukraine. And what we believe we can participate in a restart of Ukraine. So, as was mentioned earlier, we are involved in various technologies, including defense-oriented and dual-use technologies. Everybody knows of the tremendous IT potential in Ukraine, but we believe that it's much, much more than that, including things like radio communications, including things like robotics, microelectronics, etc. So my role is to help set up relationships with international partners, and we believe that we can create some new companies, new opportunities for young people, and to help the economy of Ukraine. So with that, we'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Дякуємо.
Радий відповісти на запитання.
Дякуємо, пане.
Thank you, Bohdan. Colleagues? And the Center of Research of Army Conversion and Weapons. I have two questions. First of all, what should be the format of public-private partnership in the sphere of defense industry of Ukraine? Because we know that there are certain problems with that. And the second question, we know that the defense industry, that's basically the state concern, Ukроборонпром. How do you believe your organization could be cooperating with this concern? Thank you for your question. Talking about private-public partnership, I would mention several aspects here. First of all, we are very actively working with our partners now on developing the proposals to the legislation of Ukraine. That's a draft law on PPP. I believe in the nearest future it will be presented, and in the future it will be implemented. It has modern, most efficient, most advanced mechanisms which allow to implement all these advantages of PPP, starting from contractual commitments, IP, producing specific products, and so on. And there's a big space for our activities on introducing high-tech, and a big space to cooperate with our foreign partners who have very serious results in this sector. On the other hand, we need to change our culture, the culture of relations, because the best advantages, the best results could be achieved not on antagonism, but on finding the ways for cooperation, finding the spheres of cooperation. That is a two-way road, and that is quite a new thing for our country, because we haven't been paying attention to that for many years, and thanks to new capacities, we'll be able to implement it. And having new legislation will be progressing. Talking about cooperation and our relations with Ukроборонпром, with the state companies, we are open. We do not make cross lines here, but we work on something which is very perspective. One of them is nanotechnologies. These are huge opportunities. Unfortunately, Ukроборонпром is not working on that, and there are many other directions where we can achieve good results. But I would like to say again that there's space for cooperation, and we can cooperate in different directions. Everything that works for defense, that works for our state, especially in this period of time, which is not so easy for our country. I believe this has to be implemented, because that is the window of opportunities in the interests of the state. Thank you. I would like to add on PPP. In innovation business, in the business of creating high-tech products, there's a lot of risk, because you can do something, make something, and it will not work. And taking an example of our neighbor, I believe that's a bad example of public-private partnership when the private initiative is being suppressed. What we offer, the private companies should take more risk at the at the stage of R&D, when creating the product, when it is difficult for entrepreneur to explain to a big company that such technology is needed. Here we have angels who invest at the early stage. The private business takes more risks. As to your second question on cooperation with Ukrbоронпром, I believe that we all need to do everything for the front, for the victory. And here everyone has to professionally work. What we inherited, the Ministry of Defense and Ukrbоронпром are not mostly advanced structures from the point of view of technology and management. Also, in such companies like Intel or IBM or Oracle, talking about software, as a rule, new products are not born. New products are born in startups, in small companies, when an entrepreneur comes, and the state just has to create environment for that. Such instruments as seed investments, private equity, venture investments. This is how we see our place, basically talking, well, in other words, the small and medium-sized business. Any other questions? Then I have one thing to clarify. Are there any startups? Have you selected some projects in which you want to develop? Yes. We have identified several mega projects. There are some quick solutions which we need today, and we have already created some products. These are the medium length and medium-term and long-term solutions, but we divide it into several stages which allow at every stage to receive certain product. I wouldn't like to talk about everything. I believe that in the future we'll be mentioning some specific things. But for example, I will mention some project. The project Ukrop, we call it Ukrob, which is Ukrainian robotized base, which we are trying to develop. Also, the product resource, which allows to make transparent the procedures of procurements, the procedures of logistics from the very beginning to the final consumer. That's a new approach, re-engineering, management of supply chains. And also the project on implementing nanotechnologies and receiving new materials. Based on that, these are serious things. And these materials allow to receive new quality, not just to protect the personnel. We have several projects like that, and we'll be moving along that way, and I'm sure that we will have the result that our state needs today. Thank you. Then looking forward to hearing about some successful cases. Our next briefing will take place in 2 minutes. The first Deputy Prosecutor General of Ukraine.